This morning, American Muslims are boosting security at mosques around the country, and they're seeking some help from leaders of other faiths ahead of the 9th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. And that is because some American Muslim leaders say they fear this year's 9/11 observation could bring trouble for their communities, especially since the controversy erupted over a proposed Islamic center near Ground Zero. Joining me live now, Marty Bray, Executive Director for the Muslim American Society, and Republican strategist Jack Burkman. And a good morning to you both.
Alex, good morning to you.
Marty, I'll begin with you. Why do you think that this year's 9/11 anniversary is different from past observations of the 9/11 attacks?
Well, simply because of the increase of vandalism and physical violence that's taking place around various different mosques and on Muslims and their own persons. So that brings concern, as well as the research that was done by American University that shows that there's an increase in vandalism and attacks on mosques, and also on attacks on the construction of mosques. And there's just a climate that's been set, an ugly climate that's been set, that kind of leads towards that whole situation of responding in a very violent way.
And Marty, what kind of steps are American Muslims taking to take care?
Well, fortunately, George Bush really set the climate early on after 9/11 that there would be zero tolerance for any type of physical backlash, despite the fact that we had some. But certainly that was one of the president's finest moments in terms of talking about the security and the safety of American Muslims and not trying to scapegoat them for something that Al-Qaeda did. And so there's been a building of good relationships with law enforcement at the local level. And so consequently, we feel that that situation is being nurtured more, and that there's going to be more vigilance, and even law enforcement themselves in places like Muffinboro, Tennessee, and Gainesville, where they're going to supposedly on 9/11 they're going to burn the Quran. So I think that we're there at that moment.
Yep. No, go ahead, Jack.
I got to tell you, violence against Muslims in the United States, that's a joke. This country is so free to practice any religion you want. America's so free, it's unbelievable. This is not an issue of religious freedom. Muslims can build mosques and practice Islam anywhere in the United States without persecution, and we all know it. That's a red herring. It's a total red herring.
Well,
the issue is whether, let me finish. The issue is about whether it is appropriate to build a mosque on Ground Zero, in and around Ground Zero, and it is not. And it is not for this reason. And let me make some news. Let me get a little controversial here. Islam must share some or maybe even a lot of the responsibility for 9/11. Let me tell you something. This idea that Islam is some kind of a sweet, loving religion where 99% of the people who practice it are wonderful is a joke. Islam in the last 20 years has become a radical...
I got to say, Jack, I know you're trying to make news, but I don't want to make that kind of news here on this show right now, because there are a lot of people out there that are going to disagree with you. I personally have Muslim friends, and they are peace-loving, gentle, wonderful people, many of whom I work with here at MSNBC. So let's just put that out there. To say 99% is, I believe, an overstatement. But I do want to ask you if you believe that this controversy over the planned Islamic center near Ground Zero, if that is what is the epicenter of all the talk, all the furor. We had a New York City cab driver whose throat was slashed after being asked from the backseat by a passenger, a crazed, deranged passenger in the backseat, who said, "Are you Muslim?" slashes his throat. So, I mean, is that what this is all about?
First of all, a couple things. I didn't say 99% are bad. My 99% referred to something else. But I'll tell you this. You can cite all kinds of anecdotal news. You can cite all kinds of anecdotal things. It goes back to the central issue. What about the people who died? What about the 3,000 people, including, former pundit on this air, Barbara Olson, my good friend, many friends at Cantor Fitzgerald. I had so many friends die in 9/11. I look up at the sky this morning. It reminds me of 9/11 in Washington. It's this clear, bright sky. It's amazing how quickly this country can forget. Let me ask you this. This, Alex, it comes down to one question. Think about this question. If we were in the wake of another 9/11 or anything even remotely similar to that, would we even be discussing this issue? Would my good friend even be appearing this morning? The answer is no. No one in this country, no Muslim leader
I'm going to push this. I'm going to push this actually to Marty. I want Marty, you to answer this question. Would you come on this broadcast and talk about your sentiments and your beliefs if there were another attack? Would you feel comfortable doing so? sticking up for your beliefs?
Oh, absolutely. I have a responsibility. I'm an American. I mean, I think for some reason that try to depict Muslims as being the others and not being part and parcel of America is the heart of the issue. I mean, certainly we lost, Muslims also were killed on 9/11. I personally met the mother who lost her son as a first responder. So when Al-Qaeda hit America and hit the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, they hit America, and that includes Muslims. They hit all of us. And to try to use this as a wedge issue for political purposes and something like that, I think it's not a very good thing to do.
It includes Muslims, yes, and there were Muslims killed, and there's no question about that. You're right about that. But what you can't deny is that Islam has become an increasingly radicalized global force. No one can deny that. Not even the most ardent champion of Islam can deny the fact that in the last 2 decades,
all right.
Islam...
All right, so Mahdi, I'm going to give you the last word. The accusation there by Jack that it is becoming a radicalized force.
Well, I think Jack's off base with his facts, and even going back to the facts of, trying to deny that violence is taking place as a result of the situation involving the building of mosques. But I think the final word is this. When it finally looks like this. It says, in terms of the right to build mosques in America, the car will ask, is it safe? Politics will ask, is it popular? But conscience will ask, is it right? And this Constitution will always ask, is it lawful?
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to let that be the last word right there. I'm going to leave that in a rhetorical question. Mahdi Bray and Jack Burkman, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.